maximization of the value of assets of the corporate debtor. Of course, there are four other key objectives which all of us are aware of, but the key and the basic objective is maximization of the value of assets of the corporate debtor. And for attaining this particular objective, valuation plays a very, very important role. In fact, valuation is the quintessence of the whole process of CIRP or of the code itself, which requires estimation of the value of the corporate debtor, of course, asset-wise, as of now, as is being done, in a transparent and credible manner, so that the committee of creditors has a fair idea with regard to the value representation of the worth of the corporate debtor. Through the present architecture of valuation that we all know and follow, there is an attempt made to estimate the value of the corporate debtor's assets, and then that's being considered by COC while also evaluating various resolution plans received from the resolution applicants. And thus that becomes a very, very important consideration in the whole process of CIRP under the code. Now let me straight away jump to the problem statement, as also discussed in the workshop organized by IBC on 24th of July, as I mentioned. As per the present architecture of valuation, Regulation 27, Regulation 35, it provides for appointment of two registered valuers for each of the asset classes to carry out valuation of a particular asset class. And then you do some kind of averaging, you do some kind of consolidation, aggregation, and then finally arrive at one single number of the estimate of fair value and the liquidation value, which then becomes the basis for decision making amongst the COC members. As of now, the valuation of corporate debtor as a whole is not being done, not being attempted. What we are doing right now, we are doing valuation of plant building, plant and machinery, financial assets separately, and then doing aggregation. And we say that's the value of assets of the corporate debtor as of today. There is a feeling, and it is pertinent to note, that there have been concerns raised at various levels in various fora that possibly this particular approach doesn't capture the real holistic overall value of the corporate debtor, and possibly this may be contributing at least to a certain extent in the recovery, which is put at approximately 30% on an average in all the 1,200 successful CIRP cases. Possibly one of the reasons could possibly be, at least to some extent, the undervaluation of assets of corporate debtor happening because of our following the siloed approach, where we are valuing the assets class-wise, not looking at the value of the business as a whole. And this approach possibly significantly affects and impacts the achievement of the objective of the code, which is maximization of the value of the corporate debtor. The fact of the matter is that even though we are capturing the value of different assets, asset class-wise, then aggregating together to find out the overall value of the assets of corporate debtor, but there is underlying element of some kind of a synergy, some kind of interlinkage, interconnection amongst those different assets, which ultimately drive the operations of the CD. This synergistic impact or effect is possibly being ignored in the current architecture of valuation that we follow under the code. As of now, what is being done is we are following the sum of the parts approach. If you were to value a car, you may decide to look at what is the value of engine, what is the value of, say, gear system, what is the value of tires and the body. Put all values together, add them up, aggregate, and you say this is the value of car, or with a we can possibly look at the car as a whole vehicle, as a complete unit, as a complete utility item for all of us, and then look at what is the value that this car possesses. That's where there is a thinking that possibly there needs to be a change in the code or the regulations for carrying out valuation, where we should actually now be looking at evaluating the corporate data as a whole, as a single operating unit, in addition to doing asset-wise valuation, which in any case is going to be there because of the concept and context of security interest being involved, and also for the purpose of arriving at the liquidation value of the corporate debtor. You can't do away with asset-wise valuation, which is currently being done. But in addition to that, possibly, we can move on to the next level of also estimating whole value of the CD, business value, enterprise value, whatever word or whatever terminology you may decide to use, but we are looking at moving towards determining the value of CD as a whole. There are various factors and assets which are presently possibly getting ignored in the valuation of a CD. Operational synergies built over time. Intangible assets, where are they getting captured? You have plant machinery, land building, securities, financial assets, but are we adequately capturing all the intangible assets that a business may possess? Some businesses have long-term contracts with employees and suppliers, which are pretty advantageous, which provide